Hi, everyone, and welcome to the second session of the Risk Awareness Week. I am very excited that you're joining us. Just checking that the connection is working. Okay, perfect. We're on. Um, I only have half an hour, so I will try to be very brief. Please shoot through as many questions as you can and comments, and I will respond to them in writing when I'm finished. I hope you enjoyed my session with Leo just now. If you haven't seen it, please watch the replay. Replays, as always, are available forever. So, as I mentioned in the previous section, my favorite saying is the future is plural, which means there are multiple versions of the future, and the better we are prepared to the greater number of possible futures, I think the more resilient we are as individuals and the more resilient our organizations that we work for. So today, I wanted to talk about one version of the future, a version of the future where risk management is not about achieving hypothetical improvements in risk prevention or better company performance because we have ERM policy or framework or GRC system. I want to talk about the future where risk management brings in tangible, substantial savings and has a very immediate and direct impact on the company growth and the company the company valuation. So I want to talk about the future where risk management can not save 5% on insurance like every broker promises us every year, but reduces the cost by 97%, reduces losses by 90%, and generates thousands of percentages in extra growth. I want to talk about something much more fundamental. So let me first set up the scene for you. What you see on the screen is a cost of doing an activity. And in the past, until 1960s, the cost was kind of going up and down. Sometimes it would be very, very expensive. Sometimes it would be very cheap. Sometimes it would be, again, expensive, cheap, expensive, cheap. And in general, the left side is that it is pretty expensive. So it's expensive activity. And then something happened, a miracle happened, and that miracle made two things. Thing number one, the volatility, that uncertainty, unpredictability has reduced and became much smaller. And the second one, because the volatility has reduced, the overall cost structure of the activity shifted, and it suddenly became very, very cheap compared to in the past. Not only it became more predictable, but it also became very, very cheap. And here's another similar graph. This is not cost, but time. In the past, it used to take longer, shorter, longer, shorter, longer, shorter, but still pretty long. And then again, a miracle happened. It took a little longer to transition, but today, the activity not only takes consistent, predictable amount of time within obviously some small bounds of uncertainty, but also the whole time structure shifted again. So that miracle made the activity consistently quicker. And that miracle was a shipping container. When the shipping container was created, that simple steel box cut shipping costs by 97%, reduced the loading times by 95% from 8 days to half a day, reduced the cost per ton from $6 to 16 cents, and it slashed cargo theft, cut damage rates, lowered insurance costs by 80%, not 5%, not 6%, 80%. And it led to a huge escalation in global trade. So better risk management, better predictability actually skyrocketed the growth because now ports, customers, manufacturers could plan better, because the uncertainty that was inherently associated with sea trade has been reduced quite significantly. And this is what I want to say. This is the ultimate risk management objective, is to help our organizations reduce the volatility, to make our performance, our corporate performance, more predictable. Because more predictable, more transparent, and better understood risks means there is less losses, lower cost of capital, and the lower cost of capital attracts additional capital, and that results in a significant growth. So in this session, and I hope you sense this as a central theme for the Risk Awareness Week 2025, risk management is not about ARM reporting, governance, compliance, regular risk updates. It's not about that. It's about taking your existing company and moving from this, what you see on the screen, and what you see here is that there's a high monthly cash flow volatility, and there's a small uptrend. So the company is growing, and there's seasonality, but also there's just general volatility because there's a lot of risk, and the risks are not well understood or managed. And then, of course, once in a while, there's a catastrophic event, some sort of fire or pandemic or a cyber attack, and that really kind of dampens the cash flow for the period. So there's a big inherent volatility, and there are catastrophic events that are happening from time to time. So I strongly believe that the risk management objective, risk management goal, is to move from this world into this world where lower volatility, good grasp of catastrophic events, and either trying to prevent them or trying to mitigate the consequences through insurance or hedging or other means. That reduction in volatility allows the companies to bring in cheaper capital and use that capital, that cheap, consistent, predictable capital, to support higher and more sustainable growth. So I think this is a fundamental idea that I hope everyone watching us can take away, is that we have an opportunity to not just contribute to the general governance of the organization, general feeling, but we can actually find specific, practical, and very tangible instances within the organization where better risk management can actually reduce the cash flow volatility. And I'll talk about that next. I see this built upon three things. Number one is, I think there is a huge opportunity to reduce the tail events, the consequences of tail events. Insurance existed before risk management existed, and yet to this day, and I've proven this, I think, beyond any reasonable doubt by being responsible for insurance for the last 5 years, and in 2021 receiving awards for our outstanding insurance buying from both firma in Europe and from RIMS in US. I'm amazed that this opportunity of connecting the risk conversation to the insurance buying conversation, that is still predominantly not happening. The way we set limits, the way we decide on deductibles, the way we decide on sublimits and coverages and risks that can and or should not be excluded, all of that is very, very qualitative. There is very little connection to the actual underlying risk. I mean, in some lines, we went as far as actually being able to model the loss exceedance curve and calculate what should be the fair cost of insurance. And then we took that, our estimate of the fair cost of insurance, and then talked to all the markets available to us, trying to argue that our estimate is better because we understand our risks better than they do. And we were successful, not successful in the sense that they agreed with our models, but the final product of our negotiations was a significantly different offer that we had on the table originally. And I remember one project we had. We were considering building a chemical plant in Europe, and I remember the broker came back to us saying, "We've done everything we could, and your cost of insurance, your rates will go up by 5% only. We've been very successful to secure only a 5% increase." To which we said, this doesn't make sense because we understand the risks that we're trying to place, and our quality of risk is actually so much superior to what other companies are doing in the region that we should completely reprice this risk. So we went out, we've explained our risk profile to the underwriters, and literally the next month on that specific placement, which was supposed to be 5% more expensive, we saved 26%. I can't remember the exact number, but I think that 26% saving, I think this was $2.7 million per year. That's a lot of money on just better communicating, transparently communicating what is the underlying risk. And on Wednesday, I've put a little QR code. You can scan that to put it in your calendars. On Wednesday, I'm doing a session on different ways to save money with risk management. A bit of a tricky title, but I think we need to really stop the governance conversation. I think we get it. Insurance risk management policies are important. We get that, but let's make some money first, because once you start making saving millions on different loss reductions or insurances, it's a much easier conversation than to convince that we should be stochastically thinking, we should be integrating risk thinking into our strategy, into our business plan, and so on. And this is exactly what Leo was saying. So, number one, I think there is a huge untapped opportunity to really change the way our tail protection is being priced today. I think today it's completely mispriced, and it is up to us, the risk professionals, to give enough ammunition to our insurance teams or to the brokers or to the underwriters to explain to them, okay, what is this risk profile actually looks like. And you would be surprised how many assumptions and misconceptions the underwriters put into your pricing. And when you unravel that, you would be amazed that you've been paying for something that is completely different from your underlying risk, and B, that there is actually a significant opportunity to save. So the second point that I wanted to talk about is reducing operational losses. In sales, in procurement, in sales, bad debtors, in procurement, claims, in environmental fines, in maintenance, unplanned downtimes, in product quality, returns and refunds. All of these are examples of companies losing a lot of money because they're not managing their risks properly. And this is the second untapped opportunity. Any significant losses that the company consistently sustains, the risk manager has the competency and the skills and the tools to look into it and try and understand why is this risk currently being mismanaged? Why is the company sustaining losses? And reducing these losses reduces the uncertainty of the cash flow. And then, of course, the biggest one and the most dearest to my heart, and something that we will have a lot of workshops during the Risk Awareness Week. So I encourage everybody to watch as many as you can. You don't have to watch it live. All the replays are available forever. As soon as the workshop finishes, there will be a replay page on the conference website where you can watch the watch the workshop that you missed. But we will be talking a lot about making better choices, optionality, making decisions under uncertainty. I think there is the kind of the third and final untapped opportunity with huge positive change and positive consequences for the organization is whenever the company needs to make a choice, whenever there is a negotiation, whenever there is a debate, should we have more of this but less of this, at what cost? Should we build the building in this space, or should we move it across the road? What does that mean for the operational expenses of additional piping versus the fire exposure, and the additional implication of insurance costs, plus the business interruption consequences? All of these choices come with a lot of demand for risk analysis. And if the risk manager is not there, then this risk analysis will happen in somebody's head, in the executive's head. When they're trying to make the choices, they will use the intuition, their own perception, try to come up with the best choice possible, because obviously nobody wants to make a bad choice, but it's up to us to supply the ammunition, the tools, the calculations, the analysis, the pros and cons, the different risk profiles between option A and B, C and D, to support and help decision makers make better choices. And to do this, I think we have three very important components that will be unpacked during the risk awareness week. Number one is probably my biggest challenge, and I encourage everybody to reach out to me, write in the comments, because I'm looking for any good ideas that worked in your organizations. Maybe you've been doing this already and you found a way to make it stick, to make it work. This is so important, because today business is trained, is designed to be deterministic, which means there is a single forecast, there's a single scenario, there's a single foreign exchange, monthly foreign exchange, there's a single inflation, there's a single production plan. Everything is deterministic. And to me, as the risk professional, this just makes no sense, because in reality, everything is stochastic. All of these assumptions are actually volatile ranges, and the higher the uncertainty, the bigger the range. So there's this huge opportunity to start slowly nudging and bringing this stochastic conversation into our business world. If we're doing a business plan, what's the contingency? And to calculate the contingency, we need to estimate the level of confidence or uncertainty associated with some of the key assumptions. If we're trying to forecast the contract demand, some sort of volume inside the contract, what if our estimates are wrong? What if we need more volume? Will we be penalized in the contract? Are we on the hook for unreasonable price increase? What if we need less? What if we need half of the diesel or other materials that we're purchasing? Will we be penalized then? Will the prices stick? Will the price be renegotiated? What if the foreign exchange doubles because of some sort of geopolitical conflict in the country that you're? Do you have something inside the contract that will protect the company from just absorbing all of the losses, or not? Or does the finance team have some sort of hedging mechanism where they protect the currency-denominated cash flows? So stochastic thinking is my number one point, and this is absolutely crucial and fundamental. The second point is that once we start moving into the world of quantitative risk analysis, we then immediately face a problem where we can ask for, we can ask our brokers, our insurance underwriters, we can ask operational teams from other companies to share some loss data with us. And immediately, anybody who's done that, the first response within seconds that you receive is that this information is confidential, it's highly sensitive, nobody can share that with you. And that, in their mind, becomes a roadblock to implementing proper quantitative risk management. Now, Sam Savage, one of the speakers at the Risk Awareness Week for the 6th year running, somebody who's a very dear friend, he and Doug Hubbard, also a speaker, and Tom Killen, who spoke at the previous Risk Awareness Weeks, they have come up with a SIP standard, which is basically a language, a mathematical language that allows you to transfer risk information between departments, between teams, between customers, clients, preserving confidentiality, complete confidentiality, not disclosing any of the underlying claims or losses or incidents, and yet using that to perform all sorts of risk analysis and calculations. So for the 6th year running, I repeat that SIP Math standard is the future of risk management, and it's ironic because I've been repeating the same thing for the last 5 Risk Awareness Weeks. And I still strongly believe that because, by the way, this is the language that I use in our organization to calculate project contingencies, budget contingencies, estimate warranty prices, KPIs, and all sorts of things, because this allows me to integrate uncertainty directly into Excel files that other teams, that HR, project management, strategy, finance are working with, and I can supplement their deterministic models with this language and make it stochastic. So in my mind, this is an absolute life-changing experience. You can actually help everybody to become risk aware by using the language that preserves the original Excel files, and you can use it in R and Python. It doesn't matter. But it's even in what I'm trying to say is that even in Excel, like even in the most basic budgets and business plans, you can still use that and turn them into risk estimations, risk models. And then, of course, finally, we have this AI revolution happening, and I've been absolutely amazed by how much additional value it brings to our profession. I've been able to, without even exaggerating, I've been able to do probably 5 times, 10 times more with my time to deliver more risk analysis for more contracts, for more projects, for more decisions than I ever could with a relatively small team. We have a small team, but because we have this AI support, we can now do so much more by first creating agents for our department, then creating agents for other risk agents, risk identification agents, risk prioritization, research agents for other departments. So I think this is absolutely huge. And then finally, I wanted to finish with the thought. Risk management reduces performance volatility, enabling more predictable and stable growth, even in uncertain times. And my raw AI helped me to phrase that. So hopefully it upsets as little people as possible, because we live in a wonderful world. By the way, the QR code that I showed on the previous page, that led to I think it either led to a benchmarking study where I've tried to compare all the publicly available LLMs, showing which ones are better for risk management and which ones are worse, or it leads to raw AI, my library of AI agents used for risk management. Okay, I have about 5 minutes left. Let me quickly answer the questions. Fabian is asking, how different is SIP Math to Crystal Ball? It looks similar in principle. It basically allows you to add a distribution to an Excel cell, and then that cell becomes not just a single number, but a full range probability distribution. And then when you multiply this cell to other cell, it essentially runs a Monte Carlo simulation. The difference is that between SIP Math and all other risk modeling software is that SIP Math integrates into native Excel. So it's like it's a simple formula inside the Excel, which means your file stays native Excel file, which means you can open it on your phone and change the assumptions, and it re-simulates because it's inside the Excel. There's no other software required to read it, to interpret it, to make changes. You design it once with the special toolbar, and then once you design the model, you can send it to anybody and they can operate it as they would normal Excel file. Brian is saying that he found that graphics are an easier way to talk about uncertainty with executives. Thank you. I fully agree. Another comment is that we need to have risk preferences of individual makers, and this is a super powerful message that is kind of inherent in how we do quantitative risk analysis, because when we compare different risk profiles of options, option A, B, and C, it immediately highlights the kind of the pros and cons, the trade-offs, the risks underlying in different options. So it makes risks transparent, and many people have that in their personal lives. In immigration, for example, people always think about, okay, if I move to a new country, there are all these risks of income, taxation, residence, different language. They think about all the risks associated with the move, but they often don't put effort into thinking the risks of not moving, of not staying in, all the other exposures that actually increasing while they're not making the choice to switch. So everything is about a trade-off. Donna, compliance requirements, how can the decision approach be adopted? Okay, so Nuha is asking a very nice question. Working in the humanitarian sector, by the way, Mahana is doing a workshop either later today or tomorrow on just specifically that. So how to apply risk management in non-for-profit sector. So I highly encourage you to watch that. But basically, risk management too is all about making decision-making and choices risk-based. So what that means is that you look at your executive agenda, at your board agenda, or at your donor committee agenda, and whatever topics they are asked to approve, that's where the risk management should be integrated. For example, there's donor reallocation, there's prioritization of projects, there may be some construction activities. All of these decisions are based on a lot of assumptions, and all of these assumptions are uncertain. And integrating risks into each of these choices, the budgeting, the reallocation of capital, the compliance systems, even deciding on how much compliance is necessary, all of that is risk-based. And once you deep dive into any of these processes, what you will discover is that everybody claims they're risk-based, but they're not really. Most of the time, risks are just completely ignored or disregarded. And you can significantly improve the process by making risks transparent. And B, what you discover is that in our tool set, in our risk management tool set, we have so many other techniques that can be useful for proper risk analysis. Okay, final question. Kyron is asking, will RM2 eliminate ERM completely? Over time, I hope it will. At the moment, there's still some expectations that you have a risk management policy on the website. For listed companies, you have to prepare 10K reports. There is an expectation that there are certain risk-related disclosures inside the annual report and a lot of other publications. And usually, when you have regulatory environments, the government agencies expect some form of risk management, and that form, unfortunately, most of the time is risk management 1. So I don't think it will eliminate it completely, but I hope it will one day. And enjoy the rest of the week.